Hi everyone, I am so excited because I am speaking with author Sofia Segovia, and look what I have right here, her brand new book. Look at this cover. I have done all kinds of artwork with it, trying to get the colors just right on some of my posts, and because it's just so beautiful, and you can feel, you can't feel, but I'm telling you, it's embossed and it is absolutely beautiful. Were you happy with this?
Oh, I loved it. I fell in love, and I hadn't seen the hardcover until 2 days
Oh my
ago,
gosh,
three
I have
days
to
ago
show
when it
everybody.
I got a big package and I saw the hardcover and then removed the cover
Look,
and it's beautiful.
look at
I love that
it's
little
terrifying is what
little
it is.
fly. I know that bees can be very intimidating, and
Oh,
it's good that they are. It's good that we respect them. But didn't you fall in love after knowing them through this novel? I fell in love with them,
I did. I
really,
have more of
except
appreciation. It's really
exact.
weird because my mom, who is no longer with us, was terrified of bees. Okay. And
Aha.
so I grew up thinking, I am not going to be afraid of bees. I'm not going to be afraid of bees. But then as I got older, like I find myself, like I see one and I just cringe. And you know what? A bee sting, I'm not allergic to them, but my ex husband was, and he'd end up in the hospital with severe like shock, like it was bad,
Aha.
but I'm not.
Aha.
So it's like I don't have to be like severely afraid of them. But when I was reading this, when you read the beginning and you read about we were not going to do giveaways, but you read about the baby covered in, like, it cringed. I was just like, I can't imagine. It's crazy. But this story, oh my gosh, Sophia. I just felt, like I said, I had done a review and I'm going to post it below for anyone who wants to watch it. But what I found with this book is like, I got so into the story that I didn't want it to end. Like, I was like, when it came to the end, I was like, okay, it's over. It's like one of those, it's like a mini series to me. You know when a mini series is finished and you're like, no, I wanted it to be a full TV show. I don't want it to be a mini series. That's how this book was, because
I know what you mean. Like you at the end, you feel like or faint or something, like
yeah,
an orphan, like nothing left to do,
nothing
or
left to do.
something,
and
just so alone.
and
I
it, and
know, I
it
know.
was so beautiful. Like, I love family sagas. Like, I don't know. And like I was saying, this isn't just a family saga. It's like, it's a community saga. And, it just, you feel like you're there with them. And so when it ends, you're like, where are my people? They're all gone. but, but I need you to say this main character's name because I know I'm saying it wrong.
Well, it's a strange name even in Spanish,
Okay.
because it comes out of a family story. My grandfather had this really keen sense of humor, and he named a little boy in his lands that had to be cured. He used to tell the story that he cured Simonopio with a synapism, and I gave this character. Well, the Nana Reja came into my memories and took it out of my memories and put it into the book, baptized the boy with this name. And the other characters even go, why that name, Nana? No, 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 don't do that. And she insists, and it has to be called Simonopio. The baby has to be called Simonopio. And I was like, okay, okay. So Simonopio it is. And I went a long way to give him some occasion to use a synapism. So
Mm,
we have a chapter where Simonopio
yes.
needs his godfather to give him a synapism. So it was paying homage to my grandfather, and then to this name that he invented out of, I think it comes out of Simon or Simon.
Yeah.
So you were saying right in
Yeah.
your video, Simonopio,
Yeah.
but it's like in Spanish we use short vowels
Short
always, so it's
vowels.
Simonopio.
I got to
just
remember
like
that.
that.
I'm going to remember that from now on when I'm dealing with anything Spanish, because I'm like German. I took German and everything is just all weird and, but I have to remember that because I was really like, I kept changing it in my head as I was reading, but it didn't really matter. I called him Simon as we went on, in
Uh-huh.
my head. So, it didn't really matter, but I want to read
And you
this.
know what about Simon? And I'm going to just cut you a little bit.
Okay.
Simon, I didn't know this, but I learned it after publication in Spanish through a literature professor. She told me, what does simonopio mean? And I told her this story about my grandfather, and she said, oh, so I assume it comes out of, it's, the root is Simon. And I said, yes, it's Simon. We think so too. And she said, did you know that Simon means in Hebrew, the one who listens? And I didn't know that. It's
Oh.
just that the Nana Reja knew where the little baby was supposed to do, what
Ah,
was he was supposed to become. And it's one of these mysteries that come out of
that's beautiful.
yeah, so what he becomes is in the one who listens
The one who
because he cannot
listens.
speak, right? So
Yes.
he listens to the murmur of the bees.
Ah, I know. And that is the only thing that I like about the bees is that, like I do love his bees. How about his bees I love?
Fictional bees.
His fictional bees. But just to even picture it and like I kept in my head as I'm reading it and trying to picture like this baby and then she picks it up and then like I'm just like how is that and they're not stinging him and it is a beautiful like thing to imagine, like
Yes.
nature going against nature in a way because it's all spiritual, right?
Well, that's where the magic out of this novel came out of. I wasn't planning on it, but then there were the bees. And I think bees are magical even in real life. They
Mm,
have these superpowers like
they do.
seeing beyond the horizon, and that's like looking into the future. And they see everywhere all at once, even on top of them. So that's kind of the way that they taught Simonopio to see the world
Yeah.
and to be connected to the world. And that's why Simonopio is the way he is. It's not his magic. I think it's the magic of nature. And you said it. It was. I really do think that there's magic in nature, and
Yes.
there are powerful beings, and I think bees are one of those. And they just came into the story and stayed and made Simonopio become like them, like a brother and one of their community, and just
Yeah.
react to the world as they do. So it's amazing and it's magical, and that's
Yes.
where the magic in this novel comes out of. And the third part of this magic is the Nana Reja. She
Oh,
she comes into play, but she shares some characteristics with Simonopio, like knowing no, they don't know their history prior to
yeah.
the land, and I think Nanareja in a way becomes the land or Mother Nature or
Yeah.
a nurturing force, and so the three of them become the force in this novel. And I don't know. It was amazing to me. I wasn't looking for that. It just found me, and I
Yeah.
let it.
Oh, that's beautiful. And there are people that believe that without bees we will starve. Like there are I see them on
It's
Facebook.
true. It's
Without bee like
absolutely true.
that they're
Yes,
trying to preserve bees because they're becoming more
they're in
extinct.
danger.
Yeah, they're endangered and
Yeah.
there are people that believe that if we do not save them, like, because of their pollination and everything. So, I was thinking about that while I was reading it because I was like, isn't that kind of cool? Like cuz I didn't really think about that before, but this story, not only is it so amazing because of the story that came through you, but your writing, okay, is so, and I want to read the first paragraph for
Thank you.
everybody because it is your writing that makes this book. That early morning in October, the baby's wails mingled with the cool wind that blew through the trees, with the bird song, and with the night's insects saying their farewell. The sounds floated out from the thick vegetation but faded a short distance from their source, as if halted by some magic spell while they went in search of human ears. I read that.
That's where I fell. That's where I fell in love with Simonopio.
I
Right
just
there.
like your writing is so
Thank you.
beautiful. Like that picture, it's like poetry. And there was so much. I felt like this book had so much poetry in it, and especially towards the end. Like it just, I was like, wow, you are just. I was so grateful that I read this book. You have no idea. Like it just made my day, made my whole day. And I'm
Thank
still
you. And
carrying it.
what happens is that you're reading it in English, and to me, what happened with this amazing translation is that I no longer notice if I'm listening to you in English or Spanish.
Mm,
It's so seamless because
yeah,
my translator, I was so lucky lucky to have found him, and for him to have found the novel. That was what happened first. It's He fell in love with the story,
yeah.
and I think this translation shows it. And I love the translation for this novel because it shows the cadence and the rhythms and
Oh,
the how two languages that might seem so different can connect through literature. And I love that. I love
yeah.
the translation, and thank you for appreciating it, because yes, those are my words, but it's also the translation.
Uh-huh.
And the thing is, it's so smooth
Yeah.
that to me it's like the same.
You're like, how is that
And
possible?
so kudos to my translator, Simon Bruni. I love his work. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, I was wondering that too. If you wrote the whole book in Spanish and then he translated the book into English. Yes.
That's how it happened. Yeah,
Okay.
because my English is good, and I have better English writing or reading it than speaking it. I have this accent or whatever,
Yeah,
but it's not. Translation is an art form,
it really
and
is.
it has to. I think it has to start fresh. The same author translating his or her own work, I think there would be some obstacles there to surpass. And then there's also the literary aspect to it. And no, I think the best thing for to have happened is that this novel to have found its translator,
Yeah.
and the perfect translator. So I'm very happy.
Okay, I'm going to another part that I just thought of. See, I
Okay.
have all these parts marked. And this is what I'm talking about it being spiritual because I gotta read this one paragraph. I just have to. So, we have the main characters. He gets adopted by Beatrice, and I'm gonna let you say
Francisco.
Francisco. I
Yes,
got that almost
Francisco.
right. Okay, so he says he would drink his whiskey one, as he always did. He would enjoy it, even if he knew it would not give him any answers. He's about to lose his farm. Then he would stand up and go walk through the sugarcane fields. He would force himself to take each step. He would caress every stalk if necessary. It was the only trick he had left to avoid going into the red. And when I read that, Sophia, I was just like, because uh, I feel like the gratitude, like he all he knew to do left was like to love what he grew. And I was like, I actually like got teared up when I read that. Okay, because I was like thinking to myself, it's such a great thing to think about. Like if he's losing everything, but all he knows to do is just to go touch them and show nature, like show them love. Like I don't know. I don't know what to
A
say.
gardener, right? And that's it. It's more than business, and it was for more than business for many people that later lost the land.
Yeah.
When I went into this, I did did remember a few of my grandfather's anecdotes when he lived in Linares,
Uh
of
huh.
Linares. But what happened was that I went and discovered everything he didn't say, everything that was so painful he couldn't even say. He had this sense of humor, as I was saying, and he used to have these anecdotes about Linares, like Simonopio, or you know what also is real in the book, a little anecdote about the spectacle in the river. The
Yes.
That's real. That happened. That happened in Linares, and my grandfather used to make us laugh with that
Oh.
anecdote. But we have a few anecdotes we remember
Mm-hmm.
a lot, but we don't have the pain. We don't have
Yeah.
what he left behind, what he had to cut, his roots, his vocation, his love of land, his community, everything he had to leave behind. And I think that literature is an exercise in empathy.
Yes.
As readers, we all do go into a novel and empathize, and
Yeah.
it's an exercise in humanity. I think maybe it's through pages and ink, but the exercise is there. And when I was writing this novel, the exercise was so much deeper, and it was not my grandfather's story. But really, really, I just wanted to go back in time and hug my grandfather and tell him
Oh.
I understand. And that's what I think I tried to transmit that in my writing.
Oh my gosh. And you touch on the Spanish flu, and I wanted to tell you this story because my my grandfather, my great grandmother, lost her. She had 5 daughters. She lost all 5 daughters to the Spanish flu in a
No.
year. Yeah, in a year's time. But
Uh-huh.
then she went on to have 3 sons after
Uh-huh.
she lost. So my grandfather used to take me to the cemetery where his 5 sisters who he never met were, and I
So
would look
sad.
at their graves and think, how do you survive? Like, as a woman, like, how do you bury 5 daughters? She survived, went on and had 3 sons. Like, we don't, like you said, we don't know their pain. Like, we can only read, we can imagine, what it could have been like, but we haven't stood in their shoes.
No, and there's no magic trick. There's no science that can do that for us.
Yeah.
The only way we can do that is through books,
Yeah.
and I love that. I love that. And
Yeah.
that's why I do like to go and invest myself into the writing and feel whatever I'm writing, because if I don't feel it, then it better not be there.
Yeah.
And I hope readers get that
Yeah.
when after reading the book is the honesty it was reading with, it's there. I hope so.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And that's why I've been like trying to promote this book as much as possible and tell
Thank you.
everybody about it, because I really like I just there's like not enough words. I read so many books, and not that I don't read a lot of great books, but when I find a gem, I'm like, I want to scream it. Like, everybody read this book. I swear it's so good.
Thank
And
you, Michelle.
and this
Thank you.
book was
Thank
that
you.
for me. And so before I let you go, are you writing anything right now?
Well, I'm not. I'm writing right now. I'm writing my first nonfiction, and I'm finding it so difficult. I'm loving it, but it's so difficult because the characters don't say what I want them to say.
uh,
They tell me what I should write, and that's difficult for me. I love fiction, and
yeah.
well, it's. I think it's going to be come out great. It's okay, but what I think is going to happen is that my latest novel in Spanish will be translated to English too. And I hope pretty soon. I mean, translation is slow. It's a slow process, and it shouldn't be hurried. But I am getting some news about it as we speak, and well, I'm celebrating right now those news.
Okay, well, you know where to find me, because I'll read
Of
it.
course,
Okay.
of course, and I do think that you will like that book too. It's
Yeah.
also takes place in a faraway land in another time period, and it's also so human. And
Oh.
what happened to me, as in El Murmullo de las Abejas, the Murmur of Bees, it was that I thought that they were stories that didn't belong to me, that were so far away and so in time and in space, right? Um, and when I went into them, I said, no, they belong to me.
Oh.
And I do think that every story in the world belongs to everyone. And going through the reading process and in this exercise in empathy, we we understand things that haven't happened to us, but we maybe relate, and we maybe bring them to the present and to
Mm-hmm.
our right now, right here. I'm sorry, I said that
Yeah, no, you
the
said
other way
it.
around.
Yeah, that's okay.
To the right here, right now,
Right.
and and I think these two novels, have that in common.
Oh, well, I can't
Different
wait.
stories, different settings, but the same thing has been happening with Peregrinos. It's called. I don't know the title
Pilgrims.
in English.
Pilgrims.
That's the direct translation, and I'm not sure I like it
Yeah, I
because
just saw it
it
somewhere and I was like, oh, okay.
yeah,
You know?
but it's not a religious novel or anything. It's
Right.
just I think the only word that remains to people that have to leave their land
Right. Is that right?
to find
Exactly.
peace, and it's the only good word, and it's the only word that is still has some respect to it, and I
Yes.
used it.
Yeah.
But it's not the religious connotation, so I don't know what the title in English will be, but I'm sure it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be with the same publishing
Uh-huh.
house, and I'm just so happy with what's happening right now. And
Wow.
today it's the second day of the Murmur in
Yes.
English, so I'm still
Yeah,
like
still.
in cloud nine.
Oh, that's awesome. And I'm going to show everybody the cover one more time. I'm going to put the indie link so everybody can go to support their local bookstores. I'm going to put Amazon because you can order this book right now because it is up and available. I will put your website and all your social links so people can find you. And I am so happy that I got this. It's just like one of those books that I'm so happy that I have the physical book so I can just like do this, you know?
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. I loved our talk, and well, thank you for your support and for letting yourself be taken away
That's
in this
right.
story that took you far away.
Yes.
And I think that that's the amazing thing that a reader can do.
That's right. They can
Uh,
go. They can go.
buy the ticket for the voyage,
Yes.
okay? Go
Yes.
into it and then accept it.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go to Mexico this time, but then Russia, outer space, or
Yep.
whatever. And that's when you can get transported into other lives and other times and other places.
Yes, absolutely. And it was so much fun meeting you. I'm so happy that we got to meet, and I can't wait to read your next book. So, and we can talk again when that one comes out, okay?
Of course,
Okay.
and whenever you wish. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Sophia. Have a great day. Bye
You
bye.
too.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.